Nocco is our 60-second Warframe that has just dropped. He is really, really powerful and opens doors to some amazing synergies and potential team compositions as well. His fourth ability does millions of damage and red crits with toxin damage. He has the ability to provide a massive strength bonus to you and your allies. Nocco is definitely an offensive support frame and he is very good, but there is a problem with his kit, which we will get into in this video. Firstly, where do we farm Nocco? You can head on over to Fortuna, talk to Nightcap. Here you can rank up the standing, get Nocco's pass by doing bounties, handing in the respective rewards with the pity system, getting mushrooms and plants to analyze them to increase your rank and so on. You also get a ton of rewards too. Pretty much the same as every other content drop in Warframe. It's always the pity system and a certain mission that you can get the blueprints from. Let's talk about his ability, starting off with his passive. When you receive fatal damage and enter bleed out, Nocco will enter vital decay as he reverts to his little sprodling form. You will have limited time to reach the location of a previously placed Stinkbrain or bright Bonnet, which is his first and second ability. If you do not reach it in time, the Sprodling will fall asleep and Nocco needs to be revived. This is in a way like Sevagoth's passive, which he, turns into the shadow form and then lunges to 5 enemies and then he gets to revive himself, which I guess is nice in a way to help you to get back up. It's not a bad passive overall. However, you do need to have your first and second ability up for this passive to work. If you don't have one up, then this passive will not take effect, and when you do die, you will just go into revive mode. But here is the crazy thing about his passive. Your invulnerability timer is about 12 seconds after you revive yourself with no cooldown, which is insane. 12 seconds is really, really long, and that is pretty crazy actually. It's a nice bonus and it allows you to have a lot of time to cast your abilities again to keep yourself alive and get back up on your feet and then just start sequencing your abilities. It is pretty damn powerful. Nocco's first ability is called Stinkbrain. Throw a mushroom that periodically sheds poisonous spores, inflicting viral damage and status effects on nearby enemies, while also putting them to sleep. This mushroom will be invulnerable, lasting 25 seconds, and it will periodically pulse every 3 seconds over a range of 5 meters. A maximum of 4 Stinkbrains can be placed at once. When you jump or bullet jump and touch the Stinkbrain's mushroom cap, it actually causes you to trampoline or jump high into the air. It's a pretty cool mechanic. It applies to your second ability as well. You can kind of place them in a line and so on, or you can place them as you begin to jump and bullet jump and create this sort of momentum that is quite satisfying to do. It doesn't provide anything much out of that, although I can think that this would get a little annoying with certain tile sets. It sounds good on paper, but I feel like when you're just accidentally moving and you just, move over one of your mushroom caps without realizing with all the chaos, and then suddenly you're just bonking your head against the roof the whole time. It's a hit or miss, personally. Like I mentioned with the passive section, this is used in conjunction with your passive to instantly revive yourself, so it is important to always have one of these up. Nocco's second ability is called Bright Bonnet. Send out a rejuvenating mushroom that emits a radial pulse, increasing Nocco and his allies' energy and applying a buff to ability strength for a short duration. The ability strength is increased with more ability strength through your kit, so this is actually very handy for snapshotting certain abilities that you subsume, or for your fourth ability. You can have up to 2 Bright Bonnets at a time, however it does not stack the strength effect, it only stacks the energy regen from the pulses. You will gain a flat energy regen bonus, like pure flat bonus, and that is of course scaled with ability strength, and it will also pulse every 3 seconds. Bright Bonnet's mushroom cap can also be used as a trampoline. It's pretty funny, as we've spoken about with the first ability, and it's the same whole agenda with the passive. It is used to revive you, so it's incredibly important to have this up. But there is something important here. Nocco's fourth ability actually plays an important role with this ability, so I will go over that in that section, so keep an eye on that because it's pretty damn powerful. Nocco's third is called Reroute. As cute as this ability is, trust me, it is absolutely adorable. It's just not going to fit in Warframe 2025. It is what it is. It's the nature of the ability. It's I don't know what it is, but these types of abilities where you just can't do anything and you resort to just standing around, it just doesn't fit. But it's also not the worst ability for its type. Here we revert to our Sprodling form. In this form, you can run around, dash, and so on. You will be invulnerable. Orbs will spawn around you and will heal Nocco and grant you a movement speed boost, but this movement speed boost will only apply when you're in this form, not for Nocco when you get out of it. The Sprodling form actually allows you to triple jump and dash and so on, and while you're in this form, Nocco is untargetable and heals gradually as you grab the health orbs. When you do grab the health orbs, it will restore your health and shields, which will then flow into overshields. Each fungal spore that spawns around when you're in this form is actually an orb pickup that will restore your health and shields for 80 points at base, which scales with ability strength. The cute thing as well is that your Sprodling form can bounce off of his first and second ability mushrooms, essentially, which can, make this effect of jumping around and so on. It's really cute. Nocco is quite a cute frame. However, rant time with his third. Generally speaking, like I said in the beginning of this ability, abilities like this just don't fit in Warframe's meta. Although Reroute is not so bad, it has its pros and cons. The pros are you can regenerate life, it allows you to stay alive easier, it's more of an oh crap button, and you get good movement speed gains as well when you in the Sprodling form, so it allows you to traverse pretty quickly. But the cons are just you can't do anything. You're a little mushroom, not providing much, which is okay for some people, but for me, it's not my favorite thing. That is a personal opinion, so Reroute will be my personal subsume slot. It does not mean you have to follow my opinion or what I like and don't like. If you like it, by all means, you can keep it. Please just take what I say with a pinch of salt. All right, rant time over with his third. Let's talk about his bread and butter, his fourth ability, Spore Spring. Unleash a mushroom that seeks out enemies and bounces off of them with explosions. If they come into contact with any of Nocco's mushrooms, it will invigorate them, doubling their effect triggering rate. But there is more here. It will deal toxin damage against enemies in an 8-meter radius, bouncing up to 10 times. Each bounce will increase the crit chance of the next bounce by 25% at base. This is not scaled by ability strength, however. So the crit is flat. The radius of it, the raw damage, the explosion radius, all that stuff is affected by ability strength and range, of course. You can have up to 3 of these at one time. Spore Spring will bounce off of Stinkbrain and Bright Bonnet's mushrooms, halving their pulse trigger rate, making them trigger a lot faster, which buffs your kit a lot more. But this is where Spore Spring becomes insane. You see, we get a strength bonus from our second ability, Bright Bonnet. When you cast Spore Spring on it and invigorate it, it doubles that strength effect, which means if you have a base of, let's say, 80% strength bonus from stacking a bunch of strength from your base, strength increases, you'll have 160% bonus strength when you cast Spore Spring on it, which allows you to recast Spore Spring with that huge strength bonus. Or if you subsume something like Raw and so on, it allows you to snapshot it with ridiculously high percentage bonuses. It is crazy powerful how well this synergizes. When it comes to Stinkbrain though, unfortunately, Spore Spring only just halves the time. It doesn't really double the amount of viral procs, anything like that. It just halves the rate of which it pulses, so that's it. So it's definitely stronger with Bright Bonnet. Trust me, pairing this with Archon continuity makes Spore Spring pretty damn powerful. It does millions of damage, and if you put viral priming or viral from your first ability, it's a very satisfying and strong damage ability. And that is a full overview of Nocco's abilities. If I could ask that you could leave a like and subscribe, it really helps to push the video out to the algorithm so more people can see Nocco. Thank you so much. Let's talk how to play Nocco. It's really simple to play him. Use your first ability to put enemies to sleep and apply viral. This will ultimately allow you to deal more damage and help you with survivability. Bright Bonnet, his second, is helpful to give you a massive boost in strength and also just stacking your energy regen as well. 2 of them will just completely sort out your energy sustain no matter what level you're playing Nocco at. Reroute is purely an oh crap panic button to regenerate your health and shields, providing overshields and so on. It's also useful for moving around the map fairly quickly if you pick up the little drops the whole time and so on. Spore Spring is just pure damage. Casting them multiple times with a bunch of mushrooms from your 1 and 2 will cause big damage chains, and then stacking that crit and also the double strength bonus when you use it on your second. It's just great. This ability shreds everything. Overall, Nocco's kit is good, but his 3 is still weird. There is one more gripe that I have with Nocco, which I would like to talk about now. And that is While his kit is good, the problem with the way it's designed is it's very, this is my corner. You need to stay in the radius of your abilities and so on. So it's not very mobile, if that makes any sense, which does get sorted out entirely when you do have casting speed. And if you stack a lot of range, you don't have to feel like you have to stay in the radius of your mushrooms the whole time, because you can just cast it quickly, and then that kind of sorts it out. So that is a gripe for me if you do not stack enough range and so on, but I do, so that's not a problem. Now let's talk about how to build Nocco for Star Chart. If you are a newer player watching this and you've managed to get your hands on Nocco and maybe you bought him with Platinum and so on, and you want to give him a try, it's really simple to build him for Star Chart. You need a bit of range, a bit of strength, a bit of duration, equilibrium, and fast deflection for more survivability. The last slot is completely flexible to what you have available. Here is the full build. Any aura that you have available you can use, but overall Nocco doesn't need much. In fact, you could just go more on range and you're pretty much good to go, because he doubles your strength bonuses from your second. He applies sleep and viral. He's pretty damn powerful for Star Chart. Then we move on to Steel Path building. This can vary here. I opted for Adaptation and Arcane Aegis for survivability. Nocco's only survivability method is Reroute, which causes you to do nothing, or his Stinkbrain ability to put enemies to sleep. That's it. He doesn't have damage reduction, he doesn't have invisibility, he doesn't have or dodge chance or anything like that, damage redirection and so on. He just has those two, which is not ideal for Steel Path. However, I will say though, with the 12-second invulnerability period from his passive, yeah, I guess that does make up for it, but personally, I don't like to go down the whole time. I want to stay alive. So here is the full setup. So I went for Brief Respite, which you can actually drop and go Growing Power, and then I stuck to Adaptation and Arcane Aegis. Higher range is the play here for more explosions from Spores. The higher the range, the more erratic the explosions from Spores, because it will jump quicker and actually target more enemies. Archon continuity is very good here because you can benefit from multiple Spore Springs proccing Toxin, which will apply corrosive, meaning your fort does more damage. With the setup, we have about 259% ability strength at base with augmented, plus we have Bright Bonnet's strength bonus, which is then doubled with Spore Spring when it's casted, meaning we easily get over 120% ability strength from this alone, which is pretty damn high. If you don't like shield gating, you can health gate too if you like to, and so on. You could go Bellicose and Blessing, that works too, I guess. Personally, I think shield gating is fine for him. Now let's talk about Archon shards, and this also applies to the Helminth setups that I'm going to talk about later on in this video. I would recommend green shards for max corrosive for armor stripping, although I find that his fourth ability kills enemies before this becomes, relevant. So if you want to make use of this, you're going to have to use an external buffing or external primer for corrosive to get that max armor strip fast and quick. Casting speed 100%, because his fourth ability does have a slow casting speed, and also you're going to be constantly casting your 1 and 2 over and over again because of the nature of them, especially if you're moving around the mission a lot and so on. If you're not playing a mission that causes you to stay still, you're going to want to have casting speed. Trust me, it makes him feel a lot better. You can also use Toxin shards to deal more damage too, as Spore Spring deals a crap ton of toxin damage over time status effects, which is a good idea to stack these. Ultimately, Archon shards are always flexible to what you need or what you would like out of the frame. Before we go into the Helminths, I want to talk about what to pair Nocco with. Firstly is the Grimoire. Grimoire is perfect for Nocco because you can stack up with the tome mods and you can get more duration, you can get more strength if you wanted to. You don't need efficiency, but the strength and ability duration is not a bad idea with Nocco, and you can benefit a lot from that because the increased strength from the tome mod will then further increase the strength from your second, which will then be doubled further and higher from Spore Spring. So it's pretty good. Then we have the Cyotid, which is Araxia's weapon for grouping enemies for Spore Spring to hit multiple enemies at once easier, or you can use Nautilus with Cordon. These three things I would highly recommend giving a try. Obviously you can't use Grimoire and Cyotid together, but definitely give one of them a go depending on what you want. It's 100% worth it. Alright, let's talk about Helminth setups. First up is Raw. You knew it was going to be here. This works incredibly well with Nocco because Spore Spring procs Toxin. Raw will increase the damage of the ability, as well as double dip on the damage of a time status effects from the Toxin procs. And we get crazy raw percentage increases because we have a bunch of ability strength from this build at base, plus 60% from augmented. Then Bright Bonnet will have its own strength, which is then doubled with Spore Spring, which means you can get over 140% raw on a subsumed build, which is very high. and you could probably push this even more if you wanted to. Be sure to cast Bright Bonnet first, then Spore Spring to double its effects, then cast Raw to snapshot it so you have the huge increase. Here is the full build. Super powerful, arcanes are flexible here too, works quite well with Nocco, although we do lose his third ability, so he may suffer with survivability, although I don't think so because your sleep and your, huge amounts of damage from Spore Spring will sort that out entirely. Because of the massive strength increase, our energy sustain should be sorted with Bright Bonnet, no problem, and it's pulsing more often when primed with Spore Spring. You don't really need to worry about energy sustain. I did try Nourish, but Nourish will not affect Spore Spring's hopping, so there is really no use for it. Your first ability applies viral, your second gives you energy sustain, so there is no need for Nourish at all. I was hoping that it would apply to his fourth, but it doesn't. Next up is Webbed Embrace, Araxia's Subsume. This sends out webs that ensnare enemies, but it applies damage vulnerability. Stacking a ton of range and the strength increases from Bright Bonnet will then give you very high damage vulnerability bonuses, as well as a wide range of crowd control. It just fits so well with Nocco's kit. His Spore Springs will just jump around enemy to enemy that is ensnared. Affected enemies will take more and more damage from the toxin damage or time status effects. It's a super fun and flexible setup that you can change up. Also, your survivability is even better now. I would highly recommend running as high ability range as possible to help with the diminished stats from Webbed Embrace. You could also subsume off your first ability technically, as the sleep effect would not be of much use to you, but again, that's up to you. The nice thing with Webbed Embrace is it adds an extra toxin proc, which then helps with Archon continuity too, to proc more corrosive proc. Armor stripping will just be used to make Spore Spring deal even more damage, especially with the damage of a time status effect. You can choose any armor stripping ability you like. I went for a Phantom Eyes because of the slow as well as the heat proc it applies. With the sheer amount of ability strength you get with this frame, and also with his second ability Bright Bonnet, the armor stripping ticks with a Phantom Eyes is very quick and very high. You can also opt for green shards for more corrosive procs like I mentioned in the Archon shard section, but I find that you do need a little bit of help for this, so that's why I went for a Phantom Eyes. But you can use any of the other ones. It's just a good option. And finally, for an honorable mention, Breach Surge. Breach Surge is a very good idea with Nocco with Spore Spring. I will just show you a clip in the background and I think it will speak for itself. Here is the full build for Breach Surge. Then we have Dispensary. If you want to make use of the new Archon with the changes and so on in ground missions, and especially with Nocco's signature weapon, Dispensary will deploy a universal ammo pickup which helps with, sustaining that, and it's a pretty good idea if you want to go for that. Alright, that covers the builds. Now here's the million-dollar question. Is he good? He's not a bad frame. He's a fun caster frame. He can do really good damage, definitely an offensive support. The ability strength increases is absolutely crazy, and I can imagine that it'd be very useful for something like arbitrations or anything like that when there's specific farms and good team compositions and so on. And he's definitely a good addition to the lineup and so on. The only problem that I have with him is reroute. His only form of defense is to become a mushroom and run around with cake, or when he dies, he has his passive. That's it. That's the only thing. But again, we have the Helminth system. We have so many tools and so on that we can actually sort this out. So it's not a big deal at the end of the day. I'm definitely not going to be sitting here saying, oh, he's, we don't know where to place him in the meta nowadays in Warframe. I'll be honest with you, we're at a place in Warframe where it doesn't matter if a new frame can fit in the meta or not. It's just about if you like playing that frame and if the playstyle or the kit resonates with you. The bottom line is, if you enjoy playing Nocco or if Nocco looks interesting, you will play him. It's not about if he's going to be the best or, in the meta and so on. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. It's a pretty good thing that where Warframe is right now, and the fact that we can actually say that. So, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you try Nocco because you will not regret it. He's a very, very cute frame, very cute playstyle, and definitely worth getting. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, a massive thank you to our channel members. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you for the support. It really helps me, and I will see you all for the Oberon video. Stay tuned.